It's an accelerated Police Foundations Diploma program. Students that come to us in this program are mature working professionals. These are not people who are just recently graduating high school. So it's designed for the working justice and first responder professionals with an equivalent of 3 years of full-time working experience. So when I say equivalent, that means that perhaps somebody who has been working part-time for several years, 6, 7 years, would still qualify. So whatever amount of time you're putting in a week in that particular justice sector, we would translate that to the equivalent of a full-time period to see whether or not you hit that 3-year period. I'll give you my details at the end. If there's any questions about whether or not your work experience qualifies, then you can always shoot me an email and I'll be happy to let you know whether or not you qualify for the program. So examples of first responders that we've had through our program include police, corrections, bylaw and special constables, Canada Border Services officers, as well as private security, are all examples of those who qualify for the program, provided that they have that equivalent 3 years of working experience. So when I mean accelerated, I mean very accelerated. And Kimberly will be happy to tell you what that looks and feels like in a moment. But the program completion is done in as little as 4 months. So when you think about this now, the full-time Police Foundations program is essentially pretty much 2 years from start to finish. If you're in the part-time stream, then somewhere between 4 and 5 years to finish your diploma. This program can get you done in as little as 4 months, depending on your professional profile. So how does the program work? So professional experience is assessed with the bulk of candidates placed in one of 2 categories. The first one is a Justice College graduate, somebody who works in the public sector justice stream, as well as other first responders who do not have a public justice degree, or not necessarily degree, but are not a graduate of a justice college. So for example, and I'm just using these examples, there are other examples, but one example would be private security. So those who have been involved in private security for some time would be an example of a group that would not be graduates of a justice college, and would be required to complete some additional coursework. So they would not be finished in 4 months. They would come back during the May-June period to do 3 additional courses, which would take them an additional 8 weeks to complete. So Justice College graduates are earning transfer credits equivalent to 75% of the Police Foundations program. This is why and how you can finish in as little as 4 months, because you're getting transfer credits that acknowledge your experience in the field as a working professional. So up to 75% of your credits will be transferred in based on your working experience. And the remaining first responders would require an additional 3 courses. So that gives you an idea of how quickly this can get done.
To kind of echo Richard's message earlier on, that there are 3 pillars generally that law enforcement looks for in candidates when they're getting hired. I jumped through those hoops earlier on in my career. However, with law enforcement, as it was mentioned, there's different levels that are with education that's accepted and that's looked for and sought after. And I was able to obtain my position with a semester of post-secondary education in business administration, as well as another thing that was highlighted is that your background doesn't have to specifically be in law enforcement. Mine actually was in music. I have a lot of technical training as a piano player, and I owned a music studio before I was in law enforcement. So that's where my training lied. I was able to jump through some hoops and get to my position. However, now that I've been in law enforcement for a number of years and I'm looking forward to advancement opportunities, I was aware that I was missing out on opportunities because I didn't have the same educational background as other candidates that I've been competing against in different competitions. So I was looking for education that was in a part-time format that fit with me still having to be working full-time, and also balance, my home life. I am a mother of three. I support a veteran, so that comes with some extra responsibilities. So I needed a program that fit all of those and didn't take away and didn't take a long time to accomplish.